Hey everyone, my name is Amber Ray and thank you so much for being here today. Today's video I'm going to be talking about being a stay-at-home mom and a photographer and just how to balance those two things. And if there is anything that you have questions about, whether it's mommy things, photography things, please let me know. I would be more than happy to help in any way that I can. I recently received a message from one of my subscribers and she recently subscribed and her message was very encouraging. I wanted to go ahead and read that because there are some questions that she asked that maybe it can help you in some way. It says, "Hi Amber, I just came across your channel and I wanted to say thank you for sharing all your tips and inspiration for being a mommy photographer. I am no pro photographer, but I do love taking photos of my kids and I'm interested in a photography career as it is flexible for a stay-at-home mom. I was wondering, what is your background in photography? Are you self-taught or did you go to school for it? I bought a Canon 70D last year with an 18 to 135 STM lens and also got the 50mm 1.8. I haven't been shooting much, but when I do, it's mostly an aperture priority because manual can be confusing. Hopefully you can share some tips on how you take your photos so beautifully." Thank you so much. I do appreciate you sharing your workflow and all the services you use because it is hard to find anyone who will share that kind of info. I followed you on Instagram and subscribed to your channel as well, so I do look forward to more content. And that message made my day. I just started this YouTube channel. I do have my channel with my family. It's called Life with Rays. It will be in the description box down below, but we do post vlogs every now and again. And I recently, like I said, started this channel, so to receive a message from one of y'all was just so encouraging. It's just kind of weird when you start YouTube because you have these ideas and you want to share it with, you know, the YouTube world or anyone else who would watch. And so sometimes when you're starting off, it's very hard to know if anything that you're doing is helpful. But I do love doing this and I love sharing tips. I also love sharing little parts of my life on YouTube. That is why I do have a Life with Rays with my family. So thank you so much for letting me know that it is helpful, at least to you. Even if you're the only one watching and it's helping you, then that makes it all worth it. I'm gonna just go back and try and answer some of these questions for you. I did try to reply back to you on my phone, but it didn't let me, so I guess because you're not able to auto reply unless you go into the YouTube app. But anyways, that's besides the point. I'm gonna go in here and let's see that one of the first questions that you asked was, what is my background in photography and if I'm self-taught or did I go to school for it? And I wanted to go to school for it, but that kind of fell through, and so I am self-taught. Picked up my first camera though in 2012. I got a Canon Rebel and had no idea what I was doing, but it wasn't until my son was born that I really started to learn my camera, because that's when I became a stay-at-home mom and then eventually made my photography passion a business. So that is what happened with me. You said that you bought a Canon 70D. That is a great camera. I don't know if that's your first camera. That's a good camera to start with. So you definitely have the right, gear, and you have a 50mm 1.8. I love that lens. It's like my favorite lens ever. I am really close to getting the 85mm. So once I get that, I'm gonna do some test shots for y'all and show you. I know there are a bunch of videos on what an 85mm produces, but I have been dying to get that and I'm going to be getting it within the next 2 months hopefully. You have the Canon 70D with the 50mm. That is a great setup right there. And you said that you've been shooting mostly an aperture priority, and to be honest with you, that's exactly how I started when I first upgraded from my Rebel to my Canon 60D. I started shooting an aperture priority and I fell in love with it, and it is just what I was comfortable with. The images that I was producing, I like them and I thought that they looked good, but the more that I started going on YouTube and just seeing bigger, people who share videos on YouTube about photography, a lot of them shot in manual mode, and I had no idea what manual mode was. When I learned about it and read about it and saw videos about it, I was so overwhelmed. It was insane. I remember practicing one time and I was just like, nope, I can't do this. This is just too much. Being on the other side of it now that I know manual mode and I've pretty much mastered, I can shoot in any type of setting because I know the settings of my manual. I know how to adjust everything. It is so worth it. So I just want to encourage you to number one, look on YouTube. There are a bunch of videos on how to shoot in manual mode. And I also found an image that might help you. I will insert that right over here for you. And it just shows everything from the aperture to your shutter speed and then your ISO or ISO, I don't know how you pronounce that. It shows what each function does, so hopefully that can help you. The other thing is to practice. Practice, practice, practice. You're a mommy, so practice on your kids. They're always, moving and they're always a challenge. So maybe if they're a little too challenging, then I encourage you to go outside, find a tree, some leaves, and practice on there. I promise you, once you master your manual mode, you are going to be so thankful that you did. It is a game changer. Being an aperture priority is not a bad thing. You have to start somewhere, so slowly start learning how to master your manual mode. And when you get there, I want to see some pictures. You also mentioned that hopefully I can share some tips on how I take my photos so beautifully. There isn't really like a tip other than mastering and learning your manual mode, because once you know your manual mode, you can be in any type of situation, any type of lighting, and you will be able to produce a really, really beautiful image. And another thing besides mastering your manual mode is to just have an eye for what is beautiful, and everyone has a different version of that, but I think it's very important to not just know how to take a good picture, but to also just be creative and shoot what inspires you. So those would be my two tips: learning manual mode and then just being creative and shooting what inspires you, because when you're inspired and you're shooting what inspires you, you are going to create beautiful images. So thank you so much for that email. I loved receiving it. A little bit of what I wanted to talk about in today's video was just managing being a stay-at-home mom and a photographer, and just how to balance those two things. So a couple of things that come into my mind as I'm in this position: I do work from home and I stay home with my son. I do mommy things all the time around the house. And one thing that I've realized is that it's very important to manage your time. I have found that whenever I get a message on my phone about someone maybe wanting a session or wanting more information about my services, it's so easy to want to get into work mode. That's just because that's how my brain kind of works. I love to work, whether that's taking care of my son or working on my photography or just anything. I just love to do things. I've kind of set time aside to do that. My son and I already have a schedule down. We'll wake up, he'll have, we have breakfast together, he watches his morning cartoons, and I'm in the same room with him. I'm with him eating, and I'm answering some emails in the morning, and then we go about our day. He has his nap time, and during his nap time, I will go ahead and work some more on whether that's editing or writing back to people or whatever the case is. And then again at nighttime, whenever he goes to bed, I spend some time with my husband, and then I work on my photography. The second thing is to constantly stay inspired. I'm trying to work on that, because right now I don't really have a space that I can work in and just focus 100% on. We are working on creating an office space for me. Right now it's currently my husband's, but it's mainly an area where there's just a bunch of extra things. So we're working on that, and I think that that's very important to have a space and a designated area where you can work and be inspired. The reason why I'm just now getting it is because I would say last year and this year have been super busy, and it's getting into that time right now with spring and summer and especially fall where I just get so overwhelmed because I don't really have a spot to be organized. I'm not organized. I have a computer and I have a lot of things where I can get organized, but I just work better when I have a space that I can just make it my own. I will definitely show you what that looks like. That probably won't be done for a couple more months, but that's our number one priority right now, is making an office space for myself. Maybe you are not in that boat. I know the email that I received, you said that you wanted to start pursuing this, and so maybe your first step is to offer some sessions for family and friends, and then from there, the more that you grow, you can start eventually charging for sessions, and then just kind of get the ball rolling. If that's what you want to do and you have a passion for that, I say go for it. That's pretty much it for today's video. I have a lot of things that I could talk about, but I did want to ask you who's watching this right now, if you have any questions about photography and being a stay-at-home mom photographer. Just shoot me an email, shoot me a comment, whatever is easiest for you. If you're curious about, my work or you want to see some of it, I will link my website down below and my Instagram down below just so you can see where I'm at. I'm constantly wanting to grow in my photography, so I would be more than happy if you would like to join me in that. So I will see you in my next video, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.